All right, well, welcome. This is strictly just going to be my own sports channel, usually college football. Of course, I also follow the UFC. So this is just kind of a dry run, and people have wanted me to do. I did podcasts last year. I can do them now, and they would just be on YouTube, and I don't have to delete them off my YouTube channel because now I've got my own separate YouTube channel, and this is called, if I'm not mistaken, what do I name it? Trey Sports Stokes Only. In other words, it's Trey Stokes and it's sports only. So you're never going to get any of the other things you get on my other YouTube channels. You're just going to get sports. Think of it as my own sports talk show. So, which, would be a big fantasy of mine, obviously. Have you met me? So let me put my phone on airplane mode. So obviously, now all of college football is supposedly back. Of course, we got the COVID thing to deal with, and so we don't know how it's going to go. We're just kind of and I'm not going to share any of my opinions. This is just for football. So we don't know how everything's going to go. We don't know who's going to be playing each week. So it's definitely, kind of random. So all things being equal, I would say Alabama's the best team. I would say Clemson is the second best team. I don't know much about Ohio State because I didn't follow college football for the longest time, just because I would turn on a show and it would be about politics. And I turn on my sports to get away from the world. I just want to immerse myself in sports. And that's what I promise y'all you're going to get here. If you're a Gator fan, hang on just a second. I'll give you two without wasting your time. So I'm really big. This one here, you're not going to get any politics. It's 24/7 sports. He's just, now when he does a big show, for instance, it does take a while because he lets the show load. So let me just give you an example. Let's keep it going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get rid of the ads. Okay. When they come on live, it might take a while because they let everybody load the live broadcast. And then afterwards they will put it right back up and they will cut off the beginning. So if you ever catch it live, but this is a great one to subscribe to. It's just sports. It's just college football. And the other one, if you're a Gator fan, is Gators Breakdown. No politics here either. It's just straight sports. And between the both of them, and I watched SEC, what was it called, their nightly show? I can't even think. I'm so tired. But it's whatever the Friday night show is, where they preview the games. There's no politics on that either. So I was glad to see that. It seems like, they're just getting in. What I mean by politics, I'm talking about the COVID stuff too. Where they go on and on and on and talk about, we're doing this, we're doing that. This is what it's been like going through this. We don't care who's playing wide receiver, who's playing linebacker, how do they look in camp. That's all we want to know. So this is just an introductory, obviously, but if I were to take a look at Oklahoma, seems to have arguably the best future quarterback. We all know Trevor Lawrence is the best. We know Kyle Trask was adequate last year. I think he's going to be faster. I think his backup, Emory Jones, is potentially excellent. Concerning Emory Jones, last year, when they put him in, they didn't let him throw. I thought they did in the Auburn game a little bit because they needed him to. They didn't know what Kyle Trask's situation was. Then all of a sudden, when Kyle comes back healthy, he never was fully healthy. But they just said, well, Emory, when you go in, you're just going to run. Well, it's dumb. Emory Jones can throw. So, but this year, I wouldn't just be putting Emory Jones in and out of the football game because you're throwing Kyle Trask off rhythm. Kyle Trask has, I mean, he's a dark horse to win the Heisman Trophy. He's arguably, and there has been arguments, but most of your consensus is he's the leading returning quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, which is the best league in college football. The two best quarterbacks are said to be Trevor Lawrence and the guy at Ohio State. I can't remember his name because I've taken caffeine four different times today. Worn slap out. But y'all know who I'm talking about. He transferred from Georgia. I don't know how he's going to transfer to the NFL. I need to see him play one more year. But Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama are the three best teams. After that, look at Florida, then Georgia. And I say Florida first because Georgia has a new offense with a new quarterback. No matter which quarterback, they'll be new. They didn't get a spring. Camp was weird for everybody. So you have to look at the teams that have returning coaches, coordinators, and quarterbacks. Florida's biggest issue, offensive line. If the line is better, you do have better running backs this year. P. Ryan was excellent at catching the ball out of the backfield. Teams last year went up to stuff the run. That allowed Florida to pass. I do believe Kyle Trask will be a much better runner this year. He's healthy, and he's lighter. And when he first arrived, his flat dead speed was faster than Felipe Franks was. Then Kyle had a foot injury, and then he gained a lot of weight, and he got big in the weight room, and he started looking like Tebow. He was big, gigantic, thick boy. Then he lost his quickness and his flash. But if you noticed on some of his runs, he gets moving. Might not be the first 2 or 3 steps, but once he gets going, he glides. You're going to see a faster Kyle Trask. That's probably the one big thing I'm looking for tomorrow. And when you hear this, it'll be today. I'm looking for Kyle Trask to actually want to show off his wheels. He'll probably take off running when he shouldn't. I think just to prove a point. I think Florida's offensive line, if they do get a push and they do open up holes and they make less mistakes, all 5 work as a unit, mistake-free, 80% of the time, 70% of the time, you're going to see bigger game-breaking runners. They're 5 deep at running back, and I think they could win a football game with any of the 5. Only 3 are getting the attention right now. Sorry, I'm not getting that in depth in who they all are. Our receivers, we have the best wide receiver coach in the nation, and Billy Gonzalez. And we have a ton of talent, some old talent, some new talent. We have the best tight end / receiver in the game. But watch out for LSU's true freshman tight end. He is already like Herschel Walker was as a true freshman. He is going to be a phenom. He's going to be a once in a every 2 or 3 decade type player. He's a freak of nature. And LSU also has an extremely good slot receiver as a true freshman. So I look for LSU to be very dangerous this year. Yes, they're going to be young, but it's LSU. They're going to be very dangerous. Now, there's a part of me that just thinks Florida State is going to play Miami closer than what the experts think. The line is only at 11. Most people think it should be at 21. It wouldn't shock me if Florida State was to upset them. Seriously. Well, let's take a look at the rest of the games since the Big Ten is not playing yet, since Ohio State's not playing yet, because the only teams I really want to focus on are SEC, Florida teams. By the way, UCF, excellent football team. Excellent. Their quarterback might be the best quarterback in the state. That includes the amazing Kyle Trask, the amazing Emory Jones, and the amazing Derek King. I think his name's Derek. I know it's King, down in Miami. He looks good, that UCF quarterback. Look at tomorrow's games. Obviously, Florida should really, really crush them. Kentucky, if I was going to say there's an upset, talking to my friend Russell today, we think it's Kentucky. Now, their quarterback, who was a true freshman last year, much improved at Auburn. I know all these guys' names. I just can't think right now. I have a brain fog really bad. Mississippi State, can't wait to see the offense, but LSU is just, wow. If LSU beats Mississippi State worse than Florida, beats Ole Miss, and you're like, well, they're at home and they're on the road. Florida's on the road, but LSU's, there is no home field advantage this year. It's slight. So I don't want to hear it. Everybody's pent up. Everybody wants to bust out. Everybody's going to play tomorrow like it's a Super Bowl. Seriously. I mean, they didn't even get a spring game. It's almost October. Nobody's going to be slacking. So if LSU beats Mississippi State, because I'd put Mississippi State and Ole Miss probably right about dead even. If LSU beats Mississippi State worse than Florida beats Ole Miss, Gators better look out for LSU. Seriously. You got Felipe Franks, former Gator quarterback, and his only problem was he didn't process information quickly. And I knew it. And I told my friends, I said, Kyle Trask, a better quarterback. Dan Mullen knows what he's doing. Dan Mullen wouldn't play. Dan Mullen would play. I argued with the guy at Gators Breakdown. He called me an idiot. And Pat Dooley. I also listened to Pat Dooley's podcast, by the way. Pat Dooley thought I was an idiot because I emailed him. I said, nope, Kyle Trask is better. A year later, he proved it. And I've coached, plenty of Little League and high school football. And my biggest strong suit is not knowing the technicalities of the game like other coaches do, but I was always really good at being able to look at a player and know where he could play and know what he could do. And I could just tell Kyle Trask was a better quarterback. I could tell that he processed information faster, which is what a quarterback has to do. He has to think fast on his feet. And a lot of that comes from bravery, but a lot of it comes from intelligence. It's an amazing combination of bravery and intelligence. You can have all the intelligence in the world, but if you're not brave enough to stand in that pocket, forget it. And you can be brave enough to stand in the pocket all day, but if you have bravery, but you don't think fast, it's an issue. Now, at the high school or college level, the bravery will get you through because you stand in that pocket. You're eventually going to see somebody open if your line's blocking, or if you start to scramble to your right and buy you some time. Your bravery will allow you just to see whoever's open. But when you get to the line of scrimmage, knowing where to go with the ball, that's big. Or dropping back and being able to read a safety or where the linebackers, that's big. What's the only other thing a quarterback needs besides bravery and intelligence? And you're like, well, arm strength, stupid. And like, yeah, but accuracy. Does he put touch on the ball? Does he put air under it when he goes deep? Does he put it on the numbers? Or does the receiver have to slow down or bend down? They don't like that. I played receiver. You don't want to do that. So quarterbacks need to be accurate, They need to have arm strength. They need to be brave, and they need to be intelligent. The last thing they need, oh, there's two more things. The next thing they need is pocket awareness. They need to be able to understand what's happening to them in the pocket. And Kyle Trask was terrible at that last year. And he is still the most successful quarterback in the SEC, except for Joe Burrow, because of what happened to Tua. Alabama would have won the national championship last year, despite how amazing LSU was, because Alabama was even more amazing, even when they lost their two linebackers. Folks, Alabama almost beat LSU last year with the backup quarterback. Now, one person did say LSU was up 21-0 at halftime and they just let off the gas. And I said, I'd forgotten about that. So I'll retract that statement. Joe Burrow and LSU had never been pushed. And if they needed to score 100 points to win a game, they probably could have. So I'll take that back. Let's just say, even if Alabama would have had Tua, LSU would have won. But if Alabama would not have lost their two starting linebackers, and one of them will be a first-round draft pick, and he's back this year. Now, you say he's healthy, but usually it takes 2 years to fully come back from a knee injury. But his brain power and his leadership, epic. They're going to be great. If Alabama would not have lost those two linebackers and not lost Tua, then they would have beaten LSU. But it was LSU's year. Remember, everything is meant to be. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's move on to Georgia. New coordinator, new quarterbacks. Their transfer from Wake, he quit. For one reason or another, he quit. And they've got a freshman that is looking really good for a freshman. But he was not a running quarterback. He was a pocket passer. That's why he went to Georgia. But he can also move. They've got a transfer from USC. Last name is Daniels, JT Daniels. I don't know. Again, I've got brain fog. It's almost 1 a.m. I've been up since 7. Not much sleep after a workout. I work out on Mondays and Thursdays, so not much rest after my workout, which I'm always rough the day after a workout when I don't get a lot of sleep. So I've taken caffeine literally 4 times. But I think it's JT, or is that the one from Missouri? It's Daniels. And when he is eligible to play, he might come in and be the starter. They have an adequate offensive line, talking to a Georgia fan today, and my friend Tony. And he said the line was adequate, but they're running backs. They got good backs. They're raw at receiver. They've got one, but their defense is supposed to be the best in the country. So look for that. Look for that tomorrow. Do they just body slam Felipe Franks and just shut him out? At least when their starters are out there. If so, Georgia always would have a puncher's chance to win any football game if their defense is the best in the nation. I think Alabama's defense is going to be the best in the nation. I think Georgia's will be the second best. Alabama's got a true freshman that's coming off the edge, a linebacker that cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped. By the way, in all cases of YouTube, subscribe and ring the bell. So what do I mean by that? Subscribe, ring the bell, and then click all. If you want to subscribe to my, I'm not going to subscribe to Gators Breakdown because that's from this channel. I already subscribed to them from my main YouTube channel. But that's how you do it. So let's get back. Alabama, I think the spread was 24. And trust me, later on, I'll do more in-depth stuff. I'll bring everything up. I'll bring the betting lines up. Uh, I'll bring up rosters. I'll give you players' names. I'm not looking anything up tonight. I'm dead tired, and I just felt like doing this at the spur of the moment. I could post stuff on Facebook. People wanted me to do a podcast. But I just said, you know what, create a YouTube channel. Then you can do phone. What I do is last year I called folks on the phone, put them on speaker, and put my microphone right on the speaker, and we did hour-long podcasts. It was a blast. Vanderbilt should get crushed at Texas A&M. Apparently, I just heard tonight they have an amazing running back at Texas A&M that people are going to be talking about. Alabama has the best running back. Georgia has Zaire. Kentucky's quarterback, by the way, Kentucky has arguably the best combination of offensive and defensive line. Last year, their offensive line was better than Georgia's. Patrick Nix, by the way, or Bo Nix, excuse me. His dad was Patrick. It's Bo Nix, the quarterback at Auburn. But the Kentucky quarterback, he's coming off reconstructed knee surgery. He's not going to be 100%, but behind a really great offensive line, if they have adequate receivers, I think Kentucky is a super dangerous football team. I look at Florida to lose to Kentucky. I look at Florida to lose to Kentucky or Tennessee or South Carolina. We're going to get to that in a second. But anyway, A&M, the second best returning quarterback in the SEC. I think Alabama's, though, is another excellent returning quarterback, and I think Bo Nix is another excellent returning quarterback. And I think Ole Miss, I think their quarterback is Matt Corral. Apparently, from what we've heard, he's won the job, and he's an excellent quarterback. His head's not screwed on straight, but hopefully in his third year, it will be. But that kid's dangerous, Matt Corral. Highly rated quarterback. Committed to Florida until we switched coaches, and our coach didn't want him, and I thought that was a huge mistake. I thought he'd be better than Felipe Franks for sure. Will he be better than Kyle Trask? Well, if he had all of Florida's weapons, now, does that mean Florida has a good offensive line and a run game? Because that's also a weapon. But it's going to be interesting to see Matt Corral go up against Kyle Trask. It really will. I'll be very interested in that. But let's lastly just take a look at the Tennessee-South Carolina game. I think Tennessee is also I think they're extremely well coached. I think their head coach is a throwback to old school style of coaching. Hard-nosed, get in the player's face, serious expectations and consequences on how he coaches his players up and what he expects out of them. Will Muschamp's sort of the same way, but Will's getting a little too commercialized. He's always had a problem with offense. He finally has a good coordinator in. Will is, of course, a former Georgia Bulldog, and he hired a former Georgia Bulldog quarterback, former Georgia Bulldog offensive coordinator, former head coach at Colorado State. I forget his name, too, because of the brain fog. I mean, I know all of these names, but just when you have true brain fog, sleep deprivation, you're going to be screwy. But South Carolina could still beat I think South Carolina, Tennessee, or Kentucky, one of those three are going to upset Florida. I think we're going to beat Georgia, but I think we're going to lose Kentucky, Tennessee, or South Carolina. Why? And we could lose to 2 out of 3 of them and still win the East, because Georgia could lose to Alabama and Florida, and they have 2 losses. We could lose to Tennessee and South Carolina. We have 2 losses, but Georgia would lose because we won the head-to-head matchup. But South Carolina beat Georgia last year and should have beat Florida last year with a true freshman quarterback. They had their true freshman superstar running back go down this year, but the rest of their team is there, and they had a transfer quarterback come in. So look for South Carolina to be really good, much improved. Watching Kentucky play Tennessee, or Tennessee play South Carolina, or South Carolina play in Kentucky, those three teams. Now, is Florida worried about Vanderbilt? No, none of these teams are worried about Vanderbilt. None of these teams are worried about Missouri. Throw those two teams out of the East. They're going to be at the very there. When Missouri plays Vanderbilt, that'll be to see who's dead last in the entire SEC, let alone the SEC East, or vice versa. How I said that. But South Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky are dark horses to win the East if Georgia and Florida have COVID or injury issues. But each team has bigger glaring weaknesses. South Carolina's glaring weakness, receivers. They had to take a quarterback, freshman quarterback, who is going to eventually play quarterback for them. But this year they said, dude, you're such an athlete, we got to put you at receiver because we're hurting at receiver. Tennessee, they've got their issues where they're hurting. I think theirs is along the defensive line. In Kentucky, theirs probably at big play running backs and receivers. But they're probably the most solid everywhere else. Why is Tennessee ranked ahead of them? Because Tennessee's returning quarterback, he's had kind of a rough life, but if I guarantee you he has been coached up by that alpha coach they got, and I forget the Tennessee's quarterback name too, but he's been there like 3 years, and I think he's going to play very well, but I don't think they have a lot of big play receivers. I have no idea why they are ranked ahead of Kentucky. I think Kentucky should be 16th and Tennessee should be 23rd. So anyway, that's it. Welcome to my YouTube site. It will get better when I do it with plenty of rest, and I take the time to look things up and give you names and coaches' names and roster numbers and depth charts and all that kind of stuff. All right. Chat with you later. Love you.